The night was calm until I saw a gun glint beneath the porch light, its barrel aimed straight at my daughter's face. "Freeze!" the man shouted, voice trembling with authority he hadn't earned. Not a burglar, not a stranger, our neighborhood's own security guard. He had no idea the woman he was threatening was an FBI tactical commander, and that his life and our entire community were about to change forever. My name is Michael Johnson, a retired diplomat who spent 30 years negotiating peace in places where peace seemed impossible. After my wife passed away, I craved quiet, a fresh start. That's how I ended up in Lakeside Pines, a picture-perfect gated community promising safety, order, and serenity. Trimmed lawns, still lakes, smiling neighbors. It all seemed ideal. When my daughter Amy called to say she was coming home for a few weeks, I couldn't wait. She was 26, an FBI tactical commander just returning from an overseas assignment. Brave, calm under fire, and far too young to have seen the things she's seen. I just wanted to give her a peaceful break from chaos. But beneath the polished calm of Lakeside Pines lurked something darker. The Homeowners Association, the HOA, wasn't run by friendly volunteers. It was a kingdom ruled by Robert Thompson, a man who believed rules gave him power. His wife, Sarah, played the queen, and their enforcer was a bitter ex-cop named Curtis Wilson, head of security. He patrolled the streets like he owned them, barking at neighbors over mailbox paint or lawn height. I thought I'd seen arrogance before, but nothing prepared me for the night Curtis Wilson drew his gun on the wrong person. Amy's flight was delayed, and by the time she pulled into the community, it was just past 10 p.m. I had given her the gate code and key but forgot to inform security. A small oversight I thought would be nothing more than an inconvenience. Minutes later, raised voices shattered the quiet. I opened my front door and froze. Curtis Wilson stood on our driveway, gun drawn, pointed directly at my daughter's face. Another guard lingered nearby, hand resting on his holster. Amy stood still, her voice steady but calm. "Sir, I'm showing you my FBI identification. I live here. You're making a mistake." Curtis barked. "I don't care who you say you are. You don't have clearance after hours. Get on the ground." I rushed forward, panic and fury mixing in my chest. "Curtis, that's my daughter. Put that gun down before someone gets hurt." Amy subtly shifted to keep me behind her. Even now, she was protecting me. Her eyes were calm, analyzing, calculating. "You're holding a Glock 19, she said evenly. "You realize that pointing a loaded firearm at a federal officer is a felony, right?" Curtis's expression faltered for a second, but pride overpowered reason. "This is private property. My rules." Finally, after what felt like forever, he lowered the weapon. The neighbors' curtains twitched as faces peeked through the dark. Amy exhaled slowly. "Dad," she said quietly as we stepped inside, "that man isn't dangerous because he's strong. He's dangerous because he's insecure and armed. And that's a deadly mix." Her words felt prophetic. The next morning, a knock came at our door. Standing there was Robert Thompson, the self-proclaimed emperor of Lakeside Pines, wearing a golf polo and false concern. Behind him stood Sarah, perfectly styled and smiling like a snake. "Mr. Johnson," Robert began smoothly, "we need to address last night's incident." I kept my tone diplomatic. "You mean when your security guard pointed a gun at my daughter?" Robert's smile tightened. "Our team followed protocol. Perhaps you failed to register your guest." "My daughter," I corrected, "is not a guest, and no protocol justifies aiming a weapon at her." Amy appeared beside me, calm and professional. "Mr. Thompson," she said politely, "does your security staff have valid armed licenses? Because what happened last night was a violation of both state law and HOA authority." Robert's fake confidence flickered. "All our staff meet the highest standards," he replied stiffly. He handed me a letter, a formal warning for non-compliance. Amy smiled faintly. "We won't be signing anything today. Thank you for stopping by." She closed the door gently. That night, a patrol car parked across from our house for hours. The next day, We received our first violation notice for having improper lighting. It was clear. The Thompsons were declaring war. Amy sipped her coffee, eyes sharp. They think they're intimidating us, she said. They have no idea they just picked the wrong family. While I tried to cool off, Amy went to work. She started studying the HOA bylaws, highlighting contradictions and illegal clauses. Within days, she met Jessica Miller, a lawyer on the HOA board who'd grown disillusioned with Robert's control. Jessica lowered her voice over coffee. There are things happening here that don't add up. Contracts, missing funds, selective enforcement. Robert's been untouchable for years. Amy nodded. Untouchable until now. Together, they started connecting dots. Curtis's personnel file revealed he'd been fired from the police department for excessive force. Robert had personally hired him under a private company registered to his brother-in-law. That company was billing the HOA triple the standard rate for security. Late nights became their routine. Amy at her laptop, Jessica texting updates, me pacing, watching the same SUV crawl past our house. Then came the threats. Anonymous notes, another warning, and whispers from neighbors suddenly too afraid to speak. But Amy thrived on pressure. One evening, she looked up from her screen, her voice low but steady. Dad, this isn't about one bad guard. It's an entire system of power built on fear. People like this, they hide behind rules, but rules can be rewritten. Her words didn't just promise justice. They declared war. The annual HOA meeting was the perfect stage. The community center buzzed with uneasy energy as Robert stood at the front, smugly addressing his citizens. Lakeside Pines remains one of the safest, most beautiful neighborhoods in the state, he boasted. I sat beside Amy, who watched silently, her expression unreadable. When Robert opened the floor for comments, I raised my hand. I noticed, I said evenly, that our security budget increased by 30% this year. Could you provide itemized records for those expenses? The room went quiet. Robert's smile stiffened. Security is our top priority, Mr. Johnson. Details are confidential. Jessica stood up. Actually, as a board member, I haven't seen those details either. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Robert glared at her, then at me. Curtis shifted near the wall, hand resting near his belt. I met his gaze calmly. Transparency benefits everyone, I said. Surely there's nothing to hide. Robert abruptly adjourned the meeting, muttering about hostile attitudes. Outside, as Amy and I headed to the car, a security SUV blocked our exit. Curtis approached with that same smirk. Sir, your parking angle violates HOA code. Amy didn't flinch. Blocking a resident's vehicle is a traffic offense, she said, pulling out her phone. Officer Rodriguez, she said smoothly. This is Amy Johnson at Lakeside Pines. We have a problem with your favorite ex-cop. Curtis's confidence evaporated. The SUV moved instantly. As we drove home, Amy smiled faintly. He blinked first. Now we know how far he'll go when cornered. The following week brought a flood of absurd violations. Trash cans too close to the curb, grass too green, even flagpole too reflective. Amy didn't react with anger. She set up hidden cameras, invisible to the naked eye, recording everything. Then, one night, those cameras captured Curtis and two guards sneaking into our yard, measuring grass, photographing windows. A few nights later, they returned and vandalized the fence, spray painting an insult across it. Amy watched the footage like a general studying enemy movements. They just gave us everything we need. She called in a favor from her FBI colleague Marcus Reed, a financial crimes expert. He arrived quietly, reviewing the HOA's accounts and tracing the money. His findings were damning. Over $300,000 in infrastructure spending. No receipts, no projects. Fake invoices, offshore transfers. Amy's plan was clear now. We don't just expose them, she said. We dismantle their empire in one strike. An emergency HOA meeting was called within days. Robert's goal: rush through new bylaws giving him total control. But Amy had other plans. The hall was packed. Robert's voice dripped with authority. Our community must remain united. Some residents, he said pointedly, prefer disruption. I stood. Before we expand your powers, perhaps we should discuss how the current ones have been used. He tried to cut me off, but Jessica supported my right to speak. The room fell silent. I opened a folder. This, I said, is where our HOA fees have gone. $150,000 a year to a security company owned by Sarah Thompson's brother. No license, no oversight. Gasps filled the room. Amy stepped forward, plugging her phone into the projector. And this, she said, is how their security behaves. The footage rolled, Curtis pointing his gun at her face, then vandalizing our yard. The room erupted. Curtis's face turned red. "You set me up," he roared, lunging forward. Amy moved like lightning, twisting his wrist, disarming him, and pinning him to the floor in seconds. "You're under arrest," she said, voice calm, professional. Officer Rodriguez stepped in, cuffing him. Robert tried to flee, but Marcus blocked the exit, flashing his badge. "Robert Thompson, you're under investigation for embezzlement and fraud." The room was chaos. Neighbors filming, shouting, gasping. Sarah collapsed into a chair, sobbing. For the first time, the dictatorship of Lakeside Pines fell silent. In the weeks that followed, everything changed. Robert was charged with fraud and embezzlement. Curtis faced charges for assault, illegal weapon possession, and vandalism. Sarah left town quietly. Jessica was elected HOA president, and Linda Peterson, one of the oldest residents, became vice president. Together, they rewrote the bylaws, lowered fees, and restored peace. The neighborhood that once felt like a prison now buzzed with real community. Barbecues, laughter, open gates. Amy's visit was almost over. We sat on the porch one last evening as the sun dipped low. "You could have ended this the night he pointed that gun," I said. "Instead, you rebuilt a community." Amy smiled softly. "Sometimes, Dad, justice isn't just stopping the bad guys. It's teaching good people not to be afraid anymore. Never underestimate quiet strength. Sometimes the greatest victories happen without a single shot fired. When power turns corrupt, courage isn't loud. It's calm, strategic, and unstoppable." That night, one man learned the hard way. Never point a gun at someone whose strength comes from discipline, truth, and an unshakable sense of justice.